The NCAA tournament could expand 72, 76, 78 teams in the coming future. Per Ross Dellinger, the NCAA is getting close to making this happen. I have always thought that every team should have an opportunity to compete in the NCAA tournament. And
okay, Izzo.
It's unreasonable to have all 363 teams like meet at some kind of site. So like maybe regionally, we break them up into pods of 10, 12, 14 teams. Do like mini tournaments, okay? And the winner of these mini tournaments would get to go to like a bigger, just so we can kind of like simplify it a little bit. So every team makes it, right? The tournament, you just win your kind of regional bracket. And look, maybe you're a really good team and still deserve to go to the NCAA tournament. So we still put you in. That's how it already is. Yeah.
Damn. I thought you were onto something there too.
The NCAA tournament.
It's almost like it's pretty much perfect right now.
Is 363 teams. All of you have the opportunity. Now, look, Indiana State didn't make it last year. Woo! My life didn't change. Sorry.
Well, I'll say, to defend my Sycamores here, that stunk. I thought that stunk that they didn't get to go. They walked through the MVC the whole season, and they lost the championship game. And I think that's a raw deal, not just for them, but for other conferences. But I think that's a different argument of, hey, how do we weight these things versus, let's just add 10 more. Because you know and I know that going to 72 or 76 teams does not necessarily get Indiana State in there.
Yeah.
It does get Oklahoma in there. It does get Ohio State or Maryland or Penn State in there for sure.
Nebraska.
Man, it might even get Cincinnati, but it's not getting Indiana State. And I think that sucks. And maybe you get one of those a year. And it just, to me, that is the ultimate like sneaky move of watering down the regular season.
Well, you're gonna sit in a room, and this is what it is now. Like Florida State is a prominent brand, but would it have brought as much viewership in the college football playoff this last year? Those are now conversations that are happening. From a competitive standpoint. It's no longer who deserves; it's who can be the most competitive. So the profits are larger. And then the NCAA tournament's the same thing. It's the same thing. 18-13 Penn State. You said Penn State. 18-13 Penn State versus 25-6 Indiana State. And the committee's going, well, one of these has a much better chance of making us money. You know, and what they want to avoid is, what was it? San Diego State, FAU, UConn, and who was the other team? Miami.
Yeah.
In the Final Four. That's what you want to avoid, because that brings in record low viewership and loses you money. The goal here is to make more money.
Yeah. And I know it sounds naive and, very pie in the sky, but like, you've got such a good thing going right now with the NCAA tournament. I think it's probably the only thing in college athletics that is damn near perfect. Don't change it. And it's not the money-making cash cow that the college football playoff is, but it's the only other thing outside of football that really makes serious money in college sports.
True.
And that has shown year in, year out for, really the last 50 years. But looking specifically at this really money-hungry generation of 20 years here, it's off the charts all the time. So that to me is like, it almost doesn't matter who you put in there. Of course it does, but even if it's that VCU versus Butler semifinal, it's still going to get watched. It's the Final Four. And so I think the NCAA can't get out of their own way there and using that line of thinking that you just presented, which is obviously what they're doing and what they're going to do in the future. They would have put in Kansas State or Oklahoma over Indiana State 11 times out of 10.
Yeah.
Now, none of those teams got in, but you damn well know that those two Big 12 teams have a much better chance at getting in over a team that they don't know.
College baseball, I could see this being a thing. Like if you expand college baseball or college softball, the reason being, it's one of the last good things we have. It's one of the last good things that people actually watch. ESPN on the whole is going to give you, like, college volleyball. We're still looking at tournament games on ESPN Plus. Like, we're not covering that very close.
We're not close to that.
College In soccer, no. You might get the lacrosse championship or Final Four or hockey,
even then it's been a struggle.
Four.
And I love both those, hockey and lacrosse. It's still been a struggle for those to get going.
So the last thing that we have, because you have from football, men's and women's basketball, top 3. Then softball, baseball are in there. And each of those games is on ESPN for the NCAA tournament there at the very end of the season. Everybody's getting fired up about it. Like there are things that you turn on at the end of the year. With that being said, it doesn't make any money. It doesn't bring any money in. So we haven't ruined it yet because there's no reason to add more teams or take away teams because of a revenue thing. It's one of the last great things that money hasn't ruined in college sports. And to me, it means that you could add in more teams and it would not dilute the revenue, the money hungry portion of why we're getting more teams in the NCAA tournament in basketball. That is one. So like baseball, sure. And there we see it all the time. Like in Evansville that comes in, you're like, oh, these teams that wax power programs because they're so good and they get overlooked. College basketball feels a little bit different from that. The discrepancy in athletes is much wider than it is in baseball, where your Evansville guys could put a pounding on anybody in the Big Ten year in and year out. When it comes to basketball, then, I don't understand if we will ever see. And up until that UConn run, they won it as a 4 seed. It was mostly top 3 seeds winning national championships. I don't know if we'll ever see the Oklahoma you just added in actually making a difference in the NCAA tournament and bringing in real dollars.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. And in terms of a basketball standpoint, I don't know, because I would probably think along those lines too. But then again, NC State got in the first 4 and went to the Final 4.
Syracuse did it a couple years ago. I mean,
Syracuse did it. Yeah. ECU did it in the first year.
But they don't win championships. Those teams don't win championships.
It adds intrigue. It does. It adds a great storyline. But kind of all that to say, it added a great storyline with VCU that first year in 2011 when they first had the first 4. They went all the way to the Final 4. Yeah. You know what? It was also a great story this year when it was NC State. It was also a great story when it was Syracuse, who's more or less a traditional power. It doesn't matter if they're small schools or big schools. If it's a Cinderella story, it's a Cinderella story. So I don't know if that works for or against my argument, but I think it works for in terms of why go through the trouble of adding all this extra and you're doing an extra week of March Madness. I love the tournament more than anything in the world, but it's just not the same when you do that. And I don't know what the magic number is to stop at, but this just feels like too much. Honestly, 68 feels like a little much.
I like 68.
And it's working really well, but
sorry to Texas Southern, but we're knocking out some teams that would have been 16 seeds. Like we're giving you the opportunity now for Fairleigh Dickinson or, somebody to win.
Yeah, that's true.
UMBC. If people enjoy you, where can they find you?
Oh, dude, they can find me so hard at Twitter, which is at Real Cam Stewart, and at Locked On Baylor, which is 3 times a week here in the summer on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Also on the Cam Show on Rogue Media Sports Network, where we're not just tied down to Baylor. We're talking a lot of different things. It did become a quasi-Celtic show for a while, but we're having a good time. We're just bros having a good time talking on a microphone.
You're a Celtics guy. I'm Drake Toll. If you want to find me, don't, please. This has been It Always Will Be. Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Baylor. Endose Grande.